move on to our next presentation. Wonderful to see you all here. Thank you for coming. Let me introduce our next presenter, Dr. Alla Fridrikh, who holds a PhD degree in education. Her specific area of interest is in trauma-sensitive pedagogy, in English as a foreign language learning, and classroom well-being. Dr. Fridrikh is interested in the role of the English language in building peace, social justice, and sustainable development. She's currently taking part in the implementation of the educational program University of Warsaw for Ukraine. That's a component of the EU program Knowledge, Education, and Development, and it's aimed at supporting refugees from Ukraine who arrived in Poland after the full-scale invasion. She was also nominated for a non-residential fellowship from U4U, or Universities for Ukraine. So welcome, Dr. Fridrikh, and her talk is entitled Fostering Peacebuilding, Intercultural Communication, and Resilience through ELT. Welcome, and the floor is yours, Dr. Fridrikh. Let's make sure you're unmuted. There we go.
Thank you very much, dear Sarah, for introduction. Thank you a lot. I truly appreciate the chance you've given me. I can't thank you enough for this incredible opportunity. And I want also to thank to Professor Marta Nikosh. I have seen her here. Dear Professor, your guidance and encouragement have made a world of difference for me. Thank you a lot. Today's my topic is about fostering peace building, intercultural communication, and resilience through English language teaching. And the agenda of my presentation for today is the background information and preconditions of the research of this study. Also theoretical framework, and research questions. I'll tell about the participants of my research, about data collection, data analysis, and findings, and then we discuss some questions. First, I would like to start with the concept of peace. In recent years, all of us have endured reality-altering experiences that have transformed the world today. Global events such as natural disasters, forced migration, social and political unrest, and most recently the war in Ukraine and Middle East are affecting the health and well-being of children, youth, and adults. Today, people of all ages are exposed to conflicts in some shape or form, increasing their sense of insecurity and affecting their inner and outer peace without having a particular outlet. Conflicts do not exist in vacuum. When they arise, they do so in the absence of peace. Indeed, peace and conflict are directly connected to each other, affecting people's lives, including their ability to think, perform, and interact. Just now, it was a quotation of Penton Herrera Martinez, Alba, and Oxford Rebecca 2020. As a practitioner, researcher, and language learner, we raise a question: how do we as a community respond to these crises? In other words, what must we do to create safe learning space for our language learners and teachers? Professor Trin stated that individuals around the globe, including English language teachers, have entered the 21st century with an increased sense of insecurity. We see that terrorism, the war against terror, and local wars and conflicts increasingly target innocent bystanders. In the face of all these events, we English teachers wonder, what can we do to counteract this conflict as we teach our students and care for them? Before exploring peace building, we should delve into the complex topic of peace. In most cultures, peace is understood as a state of tranquility, quiet, or harmony in personal relations. In a social and global sense, peace often associated with happiness, prosperity, respect, friendship, and agreements. However, as reflected Rebecca Oxford, peace is not one thing, And there are multiple understandings of the dimensions and extensions of peace. The concept of peace is commonly associated with desired emotions, feelings, and qualities such as safety, well-being, and harmony. And it exists within and outside individuals and in our interdependent relationship with the world. Thus, by design, peace is contradictory and thrives in the absence of conflicts. This means that conflicts arises, it does so at the expense of peace. The six peace dimensions are inner, interpersonal, intergroup, intercultural, international, and ecological peace. This system of dimensions provides a common language with language teachers. Teachers, educators, and planners can talk about conflict and work toward peace. Oxford stated that inner peace is a hub empowering individuals for action and reflections regarding any other peace dimensions. Simultaneously, inner peace can be strengthened through compassionate involvement in any of other dimensions, being interpersonally kind, working for social justice for all, promoting peace among cultures or nations, and working on solutions to environmental problems. Inner peace or harmony in heart as a key theme for the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. He said that if there is no peace in heart, there can be no peace elsewhere, the home, the town, the nation, or the world. Developing peace in the heart is possible as is now available through different approaches: meditation, music, writing, mindfulness, doing good work for others and the world at large. Conflict is ubiquitous because people are different from each other. Skills of conflict management and resolutions are learnable and teachable. If well handled, conflicts can even be transformed into something exceptionally positive. They can generate respect for the values and hope of the parties involved, spark greater problem-solving creativity, encourage productive change, citation, and foster peace cultures. Such conflict transformation is a creative part of peace building or creating harmony out of difference. So peace building is important for language teaching, learning, and communication, which inherently involves linguistic, cultural, and cognitive emotional diversity. Educators in the English foreign language field are inherently connected to the preservation or destruction of peace. And that as educators of lingua franca of the world, we are in a privileged position to use our platforms to teach about and for peace. Adopting such humanizing pedagogy, however, does require the field to research how to best develop programs and curricula for teachers and students that balance and complement linguistic competencies with peace-building skills. Further, teaching about, for, and with peace, which also requires the field to explore epistemological and ontological consideration for engaging in peace-building work within ourselves, with others, and in our own environment. In this study, we view the process of embedding peace into our practices in teaching, learning, and research, and of educating of peace as peace building. The process of peace building has gained some attention in recent years through different conceptualizations, such as language of peace, peace education, Birch, Benton, Herrera, peace linguistic, Curtis, peace writing inquiries, and peace building, Oxford, and others. These publications have advanced our understanding of the role and importance of peace building in teaching English as a foreign language, reminding us that peace building is not prescribed. It is a process that looks different depending on the individual context and ecological structures in which it is situated and analyzed. At the same time, peace building must be practical. And it is only through language, teaching, learning, and use that peace building can become part of our common identity as a human race. Besides, I would like to mention some words about the impact of war in this process in Ukraine. The impact of war on education is hard to overestimate. Among the war threats, witnesses of War Melee 2009 mentioned children's and teachers' displacement, as well educational institutions, psychological trauma, fear and stress, and low motivation to study and the consequence, brain drain, limited access to educational resources, decrease in the number of academic hours. Regarding the Ukrainian context, we have to add teaching and studying on temporary occupied territories according to the curricular and educational standards of country aggressor, and community resilience towards the forced education, massive deportation of students and teachers to the territories of the country aggressor, integration of propaganda into the educational process, and as a result, distortion of the history and facts, signs of genocide, and the elimination of the national identity. With these concerns in mind, we carried out a small-scale survey, so-called needs analysis, to estimate the impact of the war on the teachers, academic staff members, and students of my university, Rivne State University of Humanities. Their emotions, feelings, and qualities such as safety, well-being, and harmony associated with the concept of peace. The objectives were to analyze the key challenges and outline possible solutions to present challenges. The study uses qualitative analysis in order to gain insight into the real needs and challenges our academic staff and students are facing now. We employed qualitative method due to the major characteristic to collect information in natural settings due to Cresswell 2009. It provides us with a complex outlook of the issue, defining key factors. The key source of the information was the participants' and opinions and experiences. We developed the questionnaire and interviewed participants to gather the information. We intentionally were most focused on social and professional issues. We completely excluded the political and historical context from the research settings. As for data collection and analysis tools, the questionnaire suggested the following questions. How has the war affected your professional activity? What has become your priority during the war? What helps and encourages you to keep teaching or learning? As a target group of our study, we involve academic staff, teachers of English, of philological department, of foreign language, not only English, of philological department, number 42, and students from Rivne State University of the Humanities. On the map on the right, you can see where we are located by university. The purpose was to find out the challenges and priorities of teaching and learning in wartime and to propose solutions to discovered challenges. The format of teaching is fully online. Internally displaced students join the educational establishment. The questionnaire was conducted in January-March when academic staff and students could reflect on their personal and professional experience. Participation was both anonymous and voluntary throughout the study period. Participants were informed about the research and its goals before giving their concept. As for the first question was about war effect, and the figure 1 represents the range of answers. Among them, changed the way of teaching, psychological trauma, professional burnout affected by war, ineffectiveness of teaching, or remains the same. Analyzing the answers to the first question, we found out that the greatest negative effect was health disturbances. Psychological imbalances caused depression and deterioration of the quality of teaching. Some teachers confessed that they require professional psychological help to overcome their health problems and restore well-being. During the interview, some of the participants shared their emotions and more personal information that confirmed the results. Here, the teacher's voice, it became much more difficult to work due to emotional and psychological overload and inevitable changes in my everyday routine. It is difficult to find internal psychological reserves to continue performing professional duties. The hands lowered as the desire to work was completely absent. There was a period of psychological burnout in conditions of uncertainty and searching for ways to live on. Teachers also mentioned that constant raid sirens disturbed the online teaching, and since many students and teachers had to leave their homes, there were more technical problems and limited access to educational resources. In addition, participants admitted the growing number of demotivated students due to psychological problems, displacements, and broken families. The study indicated burnout, not to that, sorry. I want to read that. The study indicated burnout among Ukrainian academic staff during the full-scale war. To access the burnout syndrome, we use the self-reported Maslach-Benrode inventory services. The results showed a significant increase in emotional exhaustion among academic staff. The result demonstrates that prolonged stressful situation associated with the ongoing war and constant changes in professional conditions lead to significant depersonalization among academic staff. The alarming level of burnout detected among academic staff urges the national and institutional levels to take prompt actions to enhance academic staff's mental health in the workplace for preserving not only the quality of higher education, but also human capital in war times for post-war recovery in Ukraine. Chronic stress and exhaustion due to the prolonged impact of war-related problems and the absence of sufficient motivation, the high level of which impedes exhaustion and provokes mental health problems. This leads to psychological syndrome of professional burnout, which is manifested through overwhelming exhaustion, feeling of cynicism, and detachment from the job, and a sense of ineffectiveness. In addition, a new form of fatigue emerged, especially associated with the widespread use of technology and video conferencing platforms, termed online fatigue. As I have mentioned, for example, I have been teaching my students only online more than 3 years. That I feel this online fatigue. This phenomena further intensified distress related to the pandemic and ongoing war and the manifestation of mental health problems. The impact of crisis and extreme situation on the process of burnout, of professional burnout, particularly war, is an important factor to consider in the context of studying. Notably, the influence of war serves as an additional factor in causing burnout. The studies indicate that over half of Ukrainian educators struggles with depression, emotional exhaustion, and depersonalization. The alarming level of burnout detected among academic staff represents only the tip of the iceberg of the mental health problems caused by war. The negative impact of the full-scale war may further provoke a change in the quality of educational process in higher educational institutions and the professional reorientation of academic staff. However, studies on the impact of a full-scale war in Ukraine on the mental health of various categories of the population are still unfolding. In the field of higher education, it is important to address the mental health of academic staff right now in order to provide timely support and reduce the dynamics of burnout as much as possible. This benefits both academic staff and students, as well as the overall system of higher education. Therefore, it is important to address the factors identified by the study that potentially contribute to burnout among academic staff for the development of psychological support program at both the institutional and state level. However, these approaches need to be further explored. These findings emphasize the need to further research on the impact of war on academic staff, as well as the development and implementation of appropriate support strategies and interventions. Burnout can have a negative impact on academic staff, productivity, and mental health, which ultimately affects the quality of education provided to students. Therefore, it is crucial to minimize this effect to reach inner peace, which is characterized by a positive emotional state despite the potential presence of stressors. Besides, teachers indicated that, I beg your pardon, not that way. Besides, teachers indicated that it was difficult to motivate students and to work with traumatized ones. In order to find ways to solve this problem, we asked students about factors that keep their learning in worse circumstances. The figure 2, chart 2, reflects the answers, and the main point score involves communication, our classes of English, support of teachers, and safety. That was the factors that help keep learning. But at first I would like, there's something wrong with my technical. I would like to show you students' voice, how they answered concerning these factors. They say language learners might help to make our life a little easier now. Our lessons are not about learning English. They are the opportunity to speak about our worries and challenges. The necessity to keep our mind occupied, not to go crazy. It's about lessons of English. Our classes are the opportunity to stick to our previous life. That is very important. Life in peace, life without war. They are the support for life communication, to have plans for future. About this small, very few remarks about plans for future. Some of them also write that they postponed their lives, that they were not planning their life, postponed after the victory, after the end of the life. It's also very problematic to postpone their life. Then continue. I beg your pardon, that I'm scrolling the wrong direction. Figure 3, priorities during the war, teacher's voice. We all had to set priorities and adjust our life to new circumstances. With this in mind, we asked teachers about the key factors that guided their life during the war. The answers to questions are represented in figure 3, chart 3. As it is seen from the chart, safety issues were the most important priority. It is obvious and logical considering the full-scale war, the martial law, constant bombing and missile attacks. Teachers and students require psychological help and support. Nevertheless, human core values of kindness and sacrifice, empathy, and social relations gave resources to overcome these challenges. As we can see, safety issues are the most important priority. The second priority was maintaining social relations with students and colleagues. A great number of our colleagues combined teaching and volunteering, supporting displaced colleagues and the Ukrainian army. As we are English language teachers, we wanted to tell the truth and involve an international educators community in cooperation and dialogue. With this in mind, some of my colleagues gave interviews and made reports at conferences, and such public activity also serves as a priority to attract more people to the war. So that is very important, that social relations is a second priority. It was important to focus on those factors that supported teachers and encouraged them to keep teaching. It was included in the third question, and the results are demonstrated on the figure 4. Among key encouraging factors, teachers mentioned students and professional commitment. Student support had mutual benefits for both teachers and students. The third factor is a national identity that supports the spirit of resilience and belief in victory. Some of answers explain the role of those factors. I felt devastated, but my students' eagerness to practice English and their positive attitude keep me going. Education is a student's future. That is why it is important to keep working to help students get all skills and knowledge necessary for their future life and career. Learning brings some routine to students' lives, which helps to cope with stress. students are the main motivators for a lecturer to keep teaching. Just now, I would like to, in order to support my ideas, I would like to show a very well-known Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And in the answers of academic staff, teachers, and students, we see that the priority just now is the physiological needs, safety, and security. But the next point, to reach the self-actualization, to reach creativity and one's full potential, they need there is very important psychological needs. That is belongings, love needs, and relations and feelings and friends. Thus, we are aware that the present is crucially dependent on the military forces, the economy, our ability to resist, diplomats, and those who support us. However, the future of our country depends on education. With this in mind, Ukrainian educators clearly understand that their mission is to create a new worldview that would ensure our development, promote peace building, intercultural communication, and enhance resilience. Thus, initiatives to be undertaken support well-being of educators and students, offer professional learning opportunities in social and emotional learning, and trauma-sensitive practices. As for well-being, it is a term used to refer to a positive state of mind that gives quality to our lives. In psychological literature, well-being is postulated to combine life satisfaction, or how we think our lives turned out to be, and effect on what we feel about our lives. Well-being is related to personal satisfaction, engagement, hope, gratitude, mood stability, meaning, self-esteem, resilience, contentment, and optimism. It involves recognizing our strengths and developing our interests and talents. This leads to us being creative, playful, involved in what we are doing. Well-being is a key criterion of mental health and has been found to be associated with numerous tangible benefits, such as enhanced physical health and immune function, reduced psychological problems, superior coping skills, and even longer life. We explore well-being through the lens of peace, concluding that all the heart of conflict resolution and burnout and restoration lies storytelling. Hence, in and through storytelling, those affected by crisis can voice their concerns and anxieties with the goal of transforming in and out conflicts into peace. We built on these narrative traditions of storytelling, while also challenging the ways in which stories are told, as well as questioning those who tell stories and for what purpose. It is at this juncture that the Center saw storytelling as an outlet for restoration and peace building in the face of past, present, and future global crises. Storytelling, peace building, and restoration are at the core of the stories. The core is how to navigate and the interconnected dimensions of these three facets: storytelling, peace building, and restoration, from their own perspectives and in their own and their participants' context of Ukraine. Just it has been a restorative and peace-building process of giving us permission to be your storytellers. We hope that these experiences will be helpful and hopeful in our journey. Furthermore, this study contributes to the existing literature by focusing specifically on the EFL context, on the example of an ongoing project in Rivne State University of the Humanities, Philological Faculty. As the EFL classroom presents a unique chance and opportunity for learning, peace building, it is essential to explore how these factors interact and influence academic achievements and resilience in these specific settings. The findings will not only provide insights into the EFL in Ukraine, but may also have broad implication for other English foreign language contexts and for the field of educational psychology as a whole. Moreover, this project titled Florida International University, Rivne State University of the Humanities, Graphic Voices class, has the potential to inform educational practices to support student success. By identifying outcomes of the project, educators can tailor their instructional strategies to promote peacebuilding via project-based learning. As for the setting and participants, as I have said, the title of the project, Graphic Voices class, it aims to informing students of FRU about the war in Ukraine, life study and volunteering of students of the philology faculty in Rivne State University of the Humanities. My students were ambassadors from our country. Knowing that they come from a war-torn country made the experience all the more powerful. Connected with in person as sharing stories and ideas was a reminder that no matter where we come from, we can always learn from one another and work together to make a difference. Mastering emotional intelligence is building strategies, critical thinking, and academic engagement through graphic art. After all, graphic art is the best way to start communicating about difficult social topics that touch on emotions, experiences, and feelings. Graphic novels or comic books can be an engaging way to promote social emotional learning. They offer another entry point for social emotional learning, and it's a decades-old philosophy and teaches emotional well-being alongside academic skills. Development of teamwork and project activity of students. Familiarity with foreign teaching methods, improving the level of English language proficiency. Project participants, Professor Gretchen Fridrikh, project coordinators Malgorzata Durygin, and I, Alla Fridrikh. And also the main participants, 20 students from Rivne State University of Humanities and 20 FIU students. As for procedure, the Ukrainian students had several classes together, of course, online to meet American ones. They have been telling their personal stories or stories of those who are close to them about the wartime, about their worries, about their emotions and feelings. Students discuss the issues via WhatsApp, Zoom, and Gmail. They introduce themselves, having recorded videos, downloaded photos and videos, and created their bios. American students who are not artists are drawing wordless books called comics. We are going to have a published product as a result of the project. So it is about peace building and social emotional learning in practice. It is beneficial for both sides, and it is interrelated emotional intelligence, intercultural communication of students, of English language project-based learning. It is an ongoing project. The findings and conclusions are preliminary. Sorry. I beg your pardon. I'm just trying to find the better picture. It is a picture while students are designing a wordless book. They called it comics, but in Ukrainian, there is a little bit another shade of this word. We consider comics as funny books. They are not funny. They are about experiences, feelings, and emotions, and they are nearly without words. They are based on my students' stories. It's a complex way to build multiple literacies, which also tap into both storytelling and peace building by making appropriate and intentional choices of this wordless book. We have designed and used comics which provide a platform to bring more creativity and imagination into all classroom contexts and proficiency level by promoting storytelling and peace building in communities fraught with conflict. Furthermore, we argue that the utility of wordless books toward peace building and storytelling is strategic for teachers to promote social emotional learning within and beyond the classroom space. The powerful synergy of storytelling, peace building, and restoration is documented and recorded vividly. We would like to close the presentation with acknowledgement that world is full of hatred and violence because we do not take the time to nourish the love and compassion that are already in our hearts. Non-harming is an important practice. The picture on the right is a picture of an American student. He was listening to our lecture about Ukraine, about history of Ukraine, about Vyshyvanka, Bosch, and all our tradition, everything to get to know, to find out what Ukraine is, where is it located, that the same people are living in Ukraine. So it was just an hour period work during this lecture. And at first I was thinking how to comment this picture for you, this drawing for you. And then I would like to think that I would like to left it without commenting how people look at the world through screen without emotions and feelings. And if there is no peace in the heart, there can be no peace elsewhere, the home, the town, the nation, or the world. Just today, I add one more slide. That is a slide that was added today. On the left, there is a picture also of an American student. And the story one of my students told to the class was named On the Shield. I don't know whether you know what is On the Shield for Ukrainian people just now. Here I have two pictures of my native town, Rivne, which is located in the west part of Ukraine. This is the central square, and with a portrait of our defenders. And on the picture on the right, you see a little boy. He came to his elder brother. He always comes to him and stays there. And there are a lot of such stories. And below you see people on their knees. There is such a, we don't say anymore about dead soldiers, about dead heroes killed, that they are 200. We call this On the Shield. And when the heroes came to their motherland the last time, they return home. All the people are standing on their knees to commemorate them. Just now, the place I live, this event, such On the Shield happens 2-3 times a day. When it is 1 time a day, it is considered not the worst day in the world. So just it was a story about our native town, and my university is behind this Ukraine cinema, and the student who was listening to this, he is not an artist, he just a simple draw, and he while drawing he think about very deeply. I see his emotions and his feelings in his picture. We are also inspired, and just a moment. As such, we share some reflective questions in hopes that together we will continue to build a community that is healthy, peaceful, restorative, and beneficial for all. We encourage you to use the following questions as a starting point for future discussion, practices, research, and collaboration. The first one, how can we enact peace building and resilience as teaching, research, and pedagogical principles in English foreign language learning? How can practitioners, researchers, policymakers create spaces for peace building through storytelling to work with and for students and teachers? And I still hope that it is possible, as in this drawing, also drawing of the student, humanity still exists, even in conflict. I believe in this. Thanks to the, I'm grateful for the opportunity to use these references in my research. There's a lot of references for, and I feel truly honored to be given this chance today to present my topic. I will cherish the trust you have placed in me, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn from you. Just now is the time for questions and answers, and I thank you for your attention. Your attention means a lot to me. I am very grateful that you have listened to me today. Thank you for your patience.
Dr. Fridrikh, thank you for this really powerful and informative talk. So the floor is open for questions, comments, and discussion. Yes, Dr. Nikos, please go ahead.
Yes, hello, and thank you very much for a very informative and very multi-level presentation, Alla. I really appreciate it also as a fellow teacher educator, and it occurs to me as you thought about both teachers as well as students, and also internationally, different classrooms, both in Ukraine as well as in the United States, thinking about the social relationships that are built in those various realms, teachers among teachers, whether and how, and I guess this is a question, how do these teachers build these social relationships to foster some kind of support for each other? Because you mentioned that they're all teaching online. I have many questions, so I'll just leave that as the first question. And then I'd like to ask a question about how their teaching methods have perhaps shifted now that they're teaching online, but also as the war continues.
So thank you very much for very interesting questions. I also all the time thinking about what should be done in order to, for example, for our academic staff, for our teachers to interact or socialize, because it's a problem. Yeah, even yesterday we discussed with my colleagues that probably we are afraid of going in person education. Probably it will be stressful for us. Because I get used to being at home, to get all the materials in my computer. It's not as in the classroom, so I have a good materials in computer, audio, visual, and that's all. And I think it's very beneficial. So I'm a little bit afraid of going to the classroom, but I feel that this depression also, I also feel this burnout because I had no communications, had no growth. For these papers, my colleagues, we have a club. We are trying to reach all the possible or impossible teacher trainings and workshops, and mostly in person. For this, intentionally this year, our group went twice to Poland to have these 3-4 days workshops to cooperate with alive people. It's about maybe not more about strategies, approaches in teachers. It's about socializing with other teachers. And the last one that I attended 2 weeks ago, I like it very much. It was from the U.S. Embassy workshop. Thank you very much for support for the Americans, for that they provide us with such workshops. It was not only for Ukrainian teachers, it was for Polish teachers in one group. It was wonderful because at first I couldn't even understand who is Polish, who is Ukrainian, because we look alike, speak English, and that is. But it was very interesting, our answering the questions. All our questions, it was a drama-applied approaches in pedagogy, also reducing stress, motivation, and so on. So we answered via prism of our experience. There was such an interesting task. There was a photo, not very clear what is there. Then they said that it was an old man with tangerines on the demonstration. But at first, Ukrainian teachers considered that it was after bombing, a day after, something like that she was struggling for bread. Polish teachers considered just another fact, but no one saw tangerines there.
Mhm.
So it's not about tangerines, it's about approach. Then we mix in other with other cultures, we see the other direction and perspective. And it's very interesting to compare. We have our experience and our perspective due to it. For example, you Americans, you also have very interesting perspective. You remember in my presentation, there was a guy near the screen. So we were talking about Ukraine. There were nothing about screen, but the guy sees this, and it's like a comic, like a meme, that they are looking, that other people are looking on war circumstances, on struggling, everything that is around us, but not in our house, like through the screen. So
Right.
that is, yeah. So we try to try in somehow to be alive, to be active. I think just now that I'm even more trying to be active, to go somewhere than before the war, because it helps me. It helps me to cope with the burnout, even to be more positive. I can't say that I'm very positive concerning the circumstances that we are having, concerning coming winter and all the events on the front. To tell the truth, no one can say that they are positive. But if you are not in positive mood, if you are not inspired, if you are not motivated, how can you motivate your students? Only inspired teacher can motivate his or her students. So that is the reason that I started with educators, with academic staff, because I can't imagine the situation that burnout, exhausted teacher comes to the classroom and inspire their students. It's nonsense. Sometimes I tell to my students who are future teachers that you have to think at first about yourself, to be a good friend to yourself at first. Because, for example, when we are flying, and they say in the plane that when a mom is with child, at first she has to take oxygen mask on her, to think about her, then to have opportunity to take care of others. So that was the first how we cope. I don't know how we cope. Sometimes I think that we are just
To
in a
take
boat.
your analogy of the oxygen mask and using it for yourself, and you as well as your fellow teachers in this context of both teaching through technology as well as being isolated, how have you shifted how you address your students and their psychological needs and so on through teaching English? Because in a sense, you're trying to get language going, but you're also talking about certain content and trying to communicate and also opening them up, your students, so that they feel as a safe space to express themselves. You can do it through language, but of course you also mentioned storytelling as well as art as modes of self-expression. And I'm wondering, what are you hearing from your students, and then also how you've switched anything about your teaching, or what would you suggest to other teachers to change their teaching to help address these things?
Thank you very much. Nearly half a year I'm thinking about this question. I've been thinking. The first thing I have done and recommend to other teachers, for example, when my classes started, we have to change materials and topics for them to be impersonal. For example, I had such a very simple topic, hobby, and several of my students started crying because they couldn't do their hobby anymore. So it's better not to to ask, what is your hobby? Maybe it's better to have text, some reading about strange hobbies in the world or something like that, to be interpersonal, not to ask about their experience, not to ask about their life. Another example, it was classes with refugees, the same people of my age, and there was family treasures. Oh God, I didn't know what to do. Adults were crying about their photos at home, about their different things. So just now I am very special for materials and topics. I'm trying to sort out before classes and to think about what can be traumatic. The first one. The second one, I started to use mindfulness. In June, I attended also thanks God, from American Ambassador workshop conference about concerning mindfulness for open alumni, mindfulness and social emotional learning. And mindfulness is great approach. There is such a courses from, I don't remember, Warsaw University or Alabama. I don't imagine teaching in emergencies. And they are great. They give a lot of materials how to behave. For example, when my students starting crying, I don't know what to do at first. I can't hug them. It is very stupid to do something that everything will be okay. Not everything is not going to be okay. So what to do the first seconds in this situation? I started to use mindfulness approaches. And I was very skeptical at first about this, and about name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, like that. Was very skeptical, personally me, about your feet, your just touch your nose and your ear. But just now I see that it works. It really works. So it's a way out for my students, and at first for me. I'm not sitting silent. I know what to do. I just use these approaches, the strategies, and they work.
Very interesting. Thank you so much, Dr. Fridrikh. Other questions, comments, observations?
Comment tag. What? Sorry. They have graphic storytelling via comics. Yeah. Maybe graphic storytelling. At first, I was even wondering how to call it, because comics for Ukrainians are very unusual. For me, comics, it's like cartoons. But for me, I would rather name it wordless books. I know that there is such a approach to use wordless books for social emotional learning, but I would like to use it vice versa, not to have ready-made wordless book, to produce ourselves. Okay. Okay.
I'll just mention quickly, I was yesterday or a day before yesterday, I suppose, at a talk where a fellow ethnographer mentioned that she and her team were working with what she called a graphic note taker, so that when they were having research collaboration meetings and kind of brainstorming, there was a designated person who was taking notes, but by doing graphic art, basically. And that really struck me as an interesting intervention. And it almost, what you said about the students and their work during the class made me think of that technique. So very interesting.
Once I made in person, thank you for your remind, in person this technique, but it was a little bit another. For example, it was also in silence, because when you are talking about feelings and emotions, it's not only verbal, it could be unverbal. So I gave them watercolors, paper, and told about color, structure, and texture. And the topic was their future teachers when they're thinking about teaching after practice. Students returned from the practice at school. It was their observation practice, and they had opportunity to just one student begin the story without saying a word, another continue, another. And it really was a story without a word. When they explain what they have, it's not an artist work. It's not a masterpiece. It's just drawing as a small child draw in the kindergarten. But there are so many emotions, so many feelings. That it's like a metaphor. That could you imagine? And they about their thought and beyond the teaching. So I like these approaches because sometimes not all my students just now are ready to speak. Even I have a very special group, English language teachers and psychologists, and we went to hospital and tried to draw with soldiers. They are very traumatized. They didn't want to speak at all, but indeed they wanted to draw. I even saw that one of him, some tears in eyes when he was drawing. So I think that there is a big staff opportunity and possibility in graphic drawings when we incorporate it into our classes, in this sphere, in emotional feelings, in peace building. How can we calm down us? How can we cope with our stressors, triggers? There are a lot of them. World is, no one says that it will be easy to live in such a world. It isn't easy. How to cope with this and how to help support students. That is the main idea of my research. And for this, I will use all the possible approaches and strategies. I will try, for example, as for this project, it isn't very easy. It isn't very not very, it has problems because it was very problematic to start dialogue. At first, medical students didn't ask questions. And I said, why they didn't ask? And my friend from America, she said, and what will you ask in these circumstances when people are telling about the war? I don't know. I don't know what to ask and how to ask. So just to think about, and we started to prepare materials in advance, to think about, to send photos, to send to ask questions about music, about previous life, in order to engage students into conversations, because it was problematic. I didn't want to force my students. There is no need in forcing such activity, I think. But to motivate, to communicate is not easy.
Yeah, and I have an academic type of question, and this is a sort of a hard segue from talking about the social and emotional aspect. Did you see a qualitative difference in the kind of art or graphic art that the Americans produced and that of your Ukrainian students? When you compare them, was there more of a difference or more of a similarity? Or was that something that wasn't very evident?
That's a rather interesting question. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I tend to see Americans as being very optimistic and want to sugarcoat a lot, or always talking more about the hopeful side of things rather than the areas of
they were talking about, they mostly asked about how you imagine the future, Ukraine, or they were asking about past and future. They tried to avoid the present moment, to be frank. And there were a lot of flowers in their pictures. I don't know why. And they were talking a lot about, for example, in their bios, they were talking, my favorite color is, and each of the students, my students, Ukrainian students, they don't speak about favorite colors. They militarize their pictures and militarize their experience. They all the time want to, even if they are drawing cat, they're drawing cat in the helm. in something with armed cat. So, and or it's very specific national colors. Always choose blue and yellow. That is very important because I think it's a big of identity just now that is important. And they're talking about the present moment, and American students about future. And my students, they postpone future. That is really a sad moment for me. They say no plans for future. It's the last task we have been doing in more than 2 weeks and couldn't. Just there is no result to draw a picture of future Ukraine. Just very small picture for booklet, and not in colors, not in just for in duration 1 hour. The first that comes into your mind. I was thinking, what comes into my mind? What should I draw? Because it's really very difficult to draw something very special when you think about your future. And I would draw letter E. Letter E, the E with 2 dots, because it's very specific. Certainly in Ukraine, in Ukrainian language, there is such a letter. That means about, and I incorporate in this letter all our identity, culture, origin, everything, to specify that it is very important for me. But it's just the task. For example, put the same task for you about your future. What will you draw if you would like to depict your future?
And
the
so
better future.
how do you suppose Americans would have interpreted that? Or, there's always this question of cross-cultural interpretation, particularly among the students, as they do that kind of comparison.
But it's a project. I even think that we can put QR code. We once did such QR codes with the story via gadgets. That after that you can read the story, what it is about. But it's about plans.
Yeah, and relating that then to peace building, whether you talked about that with the students as well, so that they could possibly try to reimagine the future through that lens.
And it's not only for Ukraine. You see how everyday news, while scrolling news, there was there conflicts, wars, some problems. So it's about peace. As I don't remember about American cosmonaut, pale blue dot. You remember the such project from a pale blue dot. We are all living on one pale blue dot. So we have to take care about peace in our pale blue dot. The Earth, the planet, and it's the main topic for all of us, to have peace, not only outer peace and inner peace inside us.
I certainly hope your students achieve that, as well as your fellow teachers, because that is a very difficult stage and place to achieve, in such a conflict situation. Yes. And my admiration to all of you in so many ways across the board, all the faces and all the quiet microphones here. I really would like to say that I hope that all of you do achieve that quiet inner peace, and hopefully also the outer peace very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone. You are so patient, for your patience, for everything you do for peace throughout the world, not only in Ukraine. And thank you very much for support to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава.
Героям слава.
Героям слава.
I think that's a wonderful way to end our meeting today. Thank you, Dr. Nikosh, for your contributions. Thank you, Dr. Fridrikh, for your wonderful talk. We look forward to seeing you next week. Hopefully, you've seen the advertisement.